Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you, Dr. Altaf, for inviting me over and for giving me a chance to share some very important details regarding hypertension. As Sir was already mentioning, that hypertension is one of the largest non-communicable endemic diseases, probably perhaps all around the world. And as you were mentioning, that it's something that's sort of creeping up on us because we're not aware of it, and that is how perhaps the study is also designed to maybe find out those people who are in the regular population not taking any treatment, not monitoring themselves. I come here today, we're going to discuss details of a trial that was conducted here in Pakistan. It's called the Real World Evidence on Hypertension. This was conducted, a study of a duration of about 12 months. It was conducted between the year December 2017 to 2018, and then the results were consolidated. I would be starting off with sharing off some figures and facts, and then we'll move on to what the trial was addressing basically to look at. Right. So the global statistics on hypertension says that 1.5 billion adults will be hypertensive worldwide by the year 2025. We are already just about 5 years away from such a big figure, and the burden of hypertension is quite extreme. It is a significant public health problem. We are aware of that. A worldwide prevalence of 40.8% and a control rate of perhaps 32.3%. 9.4 million deaths are attributed to complications from hypertension, including about 45% deaths due to coronary artery disease, as it causes atherosclerosis and increases the risk, and 51% of all deaths due to stroke. And only 3%, and this is quite alarming, I suppose, that 3% of patients with hypertension achieve the blood pressure control target of less than 140 by 90 millimeters of mercury. Hypertension would affect 18% of adults and 33% of adults above the age of 45 years old. And that is probably the main population that we would be looking at as well. 8% of people in Pakistan suffer from hypertension, with every third person over the age of 40 becoming again vulnerable to all kinds of complications that may arise due to uncontrolled blood pressures. 45.3% people in studies conducted, it was seen that about 45% people never got their blood pressure checked. 37% population had stage 1 hypertension, and 32.5% were not taking any medications for their raised blood pressure, and exposing themselves obviously to both short-term acute complications and catastrophes, and also long-term damages to their arteries, to the heart, and to the other organs of the body. 15.9% had stage 2 hypertension, which is usually blood pressure of systolic blood pressure above 160 millimeters of mercury, and 9.9% out of this were also not taking any medication for this. And so as we speak, that uncontrolled hypertension are walking around ticking time bombs, and at any point they could be going into a very complicated consequence. So worldwide, 1/3 adults have high blood pressure, and 2/3 of the developing countries have now started becoming hypertensive as well. Globally, again, 40% of people in the age group of above 25 have high blood pressure, which is usually defined as a systolic blood pressure of more than 140 millimeters of mercury, either equal to it or more, and diastolic blood pressure of more than or equal to 90. And again, a little bit more of the stats. Perhaps all these slides are just put in there to highlight the importance of knowing how many of our patient population is hypertensive, and also maybe imparting sort of more knowledge to them about control and prevention of complications. Again, by 2008, it was seen that 1 billion, and I'm sure by now, I think if we have more figures, the numbers are quite bigger than this, and 51% of stroke and 45% of coronary heart disease. Hypertension, we know this is a very simple representation of a very complicated consequence, perhaps. The brain damage, heart attack, and kidney stones is probably just the tip of the iceberg and the complications that hypertension can cause. Now comes what we can do about it. So it says that blood pressure reduction of just 2 millimeters of mercury decreases the risk of cardiovascular events by 7 to 10%. A meta-analysis of 61 prospective observational studies was done, and they found that a 2 millimeter decrease in the mean systolic blood pressure caused a 7% reduction in the risk of ischemic heart disease related mortality and a 10% reduction in the risk of stroke mortality, which are considered to be the top two killers of as complication of hypertension. This is a bar chart that sort of tells us about the number of studies that were conducted and the number of blood pressure medications that were needed to control the blood pressure. So the trial was where the systolic blood pressure was achieved, and you see that the number of blood pressure medications is ranging. Every bar is above 2.5 definitely. So every patient or most of the patients definitely need a combination of 2 or even sometimes 3 blood pressure antihypertensive medications to achieve their systolic blood pressure goals. So this is the use of single pill combinations. They say they're more efficient than using free combinations. And even sometimes the use of single pill combinations as the first line therapy or as initial therapy in your hypertensive patient can improve the control and cardiovascular outcomes. So single pill combinations, as we were speaking, that it improves hypertension control and the cardiovascular outcomes in the first year of treatment itself. As you see, the aqua line that shows 68% improvement in the single pill combination compared to the dotted line, that's monotherapy, and the line in purple, that's 59%, where free combinations were used. Coming to some guidelines, the AHA 2017 recommendations said that initiation of therapy with dual combination in single pill, which is single pill combination. The class of recommendation, class 1, says that initiation of antihypertensive drug therapy with 2 first-line agents of different classes. When you talk about classes, you do have, I'm sure everybody is well aware of ACE inhibitors, ARBs, we've got calcium channel blockers and the diuretics. So 2 first-line agents of different classes, either as separate agents or in a fixed dose combination for all patients, for all adults with stage 2 hypertension. And an average blood pressure if more than 20 by 10 millimeters of mercury above their blood pressure target. So you begin with a fixed dose combination for them. Also, there's a class 2 recommendation that says that starting with a single agent is reasonable if the patient has stage 1 hypertension and the BP goal is less than 130 by 80 with dosage titration as sequential addition of other agents to achieve the blood pressure target. So the importance over here is that we have to achieve our goals. We have to keep monitoring these patients. If they come to you in stage 2, we start with a fixed dose combination. If in stage 1, we can still give them a trial and then sequentially add on another hypertensive, preferably from another class. This is the European Society of Cardiology and European Society of Hypertension guidelines that run from the 2018 recommendations that say that drug therapy should be started for patients having a blood pressure of 140 by 90 millimeters of mercury. And they say that, so the grading of blood pressure is done differently by different societies. With the European Society, we have a high normal and then grade 1, 2, and 3 according to the blood pressure readings that you may get. And just for the high normal, we have lifestyle advice, and then patient needs to be assessed for his risk, family history, other comorbidities like diabetes, obesity, and other risk for atherosclerosis. And then treatment may or may not be started, and that's only for high normal. But as soon as the blood pressure falls in the grade 1, 2, and 3, along with lifestyle advice, we do need to start immediate drug treatment. And the aim to control blood pressure should be within 3 months. And we should be educating our patients to be in a close liaison with us as their healthcare providers, and also with their own family members for support, and in sort of being encouraged to follow a good lifestyle and diet regime. So what is real world evidence? A lot of focus has now shifted in research about talking about the real world evidence. So basically what happens is that every research is focused on before a therapy or a combination or medication is introduced into the general public. The real world data and the real world evidence is now becoming the top of the research topic, because it plays an increasing role in healthcare decisions. It's very important to understand that once a person starts using a medication, be it single or fixed dose combinations, to see how the results are improving by what you have started for the patient. So real world evidence is the clinical evidence regarding the usage and potential benefits or risks of a medical product derived from the analysis of the real world data. So real world data is collected from the general population who's actually using that medication, and analytics are applied, and that's how evidence is collected as to the efficacy, the side effect profile, or however the compliance has been. That brings us to the trial that we were going to talk about. This is efficacy in hypertensive patients, a real world observation study. It went on by the name of ALERT trial. On the screen are mentioned the names of the people who were involved in the trial. And this is a small picture of the article that was published, and it was published on May 2020. So it was the first of its kind. It was the first observational trial in Pakistan on combination antihypertensive drugs. Obviously, the aim was to measure the percentage of participants with blood pressure change of less than 139 by 89 millimeters of mercury at the end of 8 weeks. So patient was prescribed the medication, was followed over a span of 8 weeks, and then results were compiled. And the aim was to determine the efficacy of amlodipine and valsartan once daily dose in reducing the blood pressure. The dose of amlodipine was 5 milligram and the dose of valsartan was 80 milligram. And the effect was seen in reduction of blood pressure after 8 weeks of therapy in real clinic settings. And also we wanted to measure the percentage of participants with blood pressure change of less than 139/89 at the end of 8 weeks. So the design method, it was an observational study, an open label. So you do see that about 31 investigators sites were involved in the study, where the data was collected on real-time patients who were using this medication. And all tertiary care hospitals were involved, and private clinics also, for a period of 12 months, as I've already mentioned, after ethical approval. On day 0, we did take in the patient with a written informed consent. There was clinical examination done, a detailed history, vitals were recorded, blood pressure was recorded, and treatment was initiated with Afsar, which is a combination of amlodipine and valsartan. Again, they were followed on week 1, week 4, and week 8. And each time the patient came in, his blood pressure was recorded. Any adverse effects that the patient had experienced was noted down, and dose adjustment was done depending on what the values were or what the symptoms of the patient were. Talking a little bit about the inclusion and the exclusion criteria. So anybody above the blood pressure of 139/89 millimeters of mercury was included. And if the patient was on monotherapy with minimum last 30 days, both male and female patients were included. The age group was about 18 to 70 years of age. And obviously we did take a signed informed consent for this. The exclusion criteria was, the study did not include any patient with secondary hypertension. Pregnant or lactating mothers were excluded. A hypersensitivity to any active ingredient, those patients were excluded. Peripheral arterial disease, hepatic disease or biliary tract obstruction, and chronic kidney disease patients were excluded from the study. A total of 900 patients were enrolled, out of which 769 hypertensive patients were then followed. Both genders, the age is already mentioned, and this is the study population. The mean age of the study population was about 52 years, and 41% were male and 59% patients were female. So that's also important to understand over here, that the gender ratio is also a bit something that we have to notice, that it has become sort of more common in our female population as well. Hypertension itself, probably obesity is also more common in them. The study population, this is what their treatment history looked like. Patient were on ACE inhibitors, some of them were on ARBs, calcium channel blockers, and diuretics probably were being used as monotherapy for most of the patients, and just one patient was taking an alpha blocker as well. So multiple comorbidities were also studied along with it. Obesity, 29% patients had that, 20% patients were diabetic. Patient also had angina, 3%, previous history of myocardial infarction was present in 1%, and a previous history of stroke was present in 1% as well. So probably all sorts of high risk patients. I'm going to be sharing the results now. So there was a statistically significant reduction in the blood pressure of these patients that were treated for 8 weeks with Afsar. According to the AHA and the European Society of Hypertension, the goal is to reduce blood pressure by 20 millimeters systolic and 10 millimeters, and this was actually achieved in a very significant population in the study group. 28.5 millimeters reduction was seen in the systolic blood pressure, and the diastolic blood pressure reduction was almost 13 millimeters. And as you see that what we need is 20/10, and what we got was much more than that in a fixed dose combination of valsartan and amlodipine. 82.1% achieved the target BP with amlodipine valsartan single dose fixed combination tablet, and 92% got a desired blood pressure response where the target blood pressure was set at less than 140/90 over a span of 8 weeks. So coming down to the conclusion, Afsar, which is a combination of amlodipine and valsartan combination therapy, was very effective in controlling blood pressure up to the levels as recommended by the AHA, the ACC, the European guidelines among patients who were uncontrolled with other monotherapy. This is a list of the investigator sites, because I mentioned that it was multiple tertiary care hospitals were involved in the study. So just a list of all the data being collected all over the country. Thank you.